What if I told you that, in just 6 months, Chicago police solved more cold case murders than they had in years? What if I told you that families who waited decades for answers finally got justice? This isn't fiction. This is the incredible true story of how Chicago revolutionized murder investigations and brought closure to over 150 families. Chicago has always had a complicated relationship with crime. For years, the city struggled with solving murders. Homicide cases would go cold, families would wait, and answers seemed impossible. But in 2024, something extraordinary happened. In just the first 6 months of the year, Chicago police cleared over 150 homicide cases. Many of these were cold cases, some decades old. Behind these numbers are real people, real families, and real stories of justice delayed but not denied. The breakthrough came through changes in how Chicago approached unsolved murders. The department made a commitment: dedicate more resources, and completely change how detectives work cases. Here's what made the difference. Instead of cases sitting in filing cabinets, they got fresh eyes and focused attention. Modern technology met old-fashioned detective work. It sounds simple, but the results were revolutionary. Let me tell you about one case that shows this success: the Ronald Tolliver murder, a case that went cold for 45 years. 45 years. April 19th, 1979. Ronald Tolliver, 28 years old, father of 2, was found shot to death in a basement in Cabrini Green. When this case first landed on a detective's desk, Ronald Reagan wasn't even president yet. The evidence sat in boxes, witnesses scattered, hope fading. But in 2024, it finally got the attention it deserved. Using modern investigative techniques, dedicated detective work, and that crucial element, time to focus, investigators finally solved the case. The Tolliver case was cleared through what police call death of offender, meaning the person responsible had died. After 45 years, the family finally learned who killed Ronald and why. A father of 2, trying to make his way in one of Chicago's most dangerous neighborhoods, killed over a drug deal gone wrong. His children, who were just babies when he died, finally got answers about their father's death. The basement of that Cabrini Green building where Ronald took his last breath had kept its secrets for nearly half a century. But modern detective work, persistence, and refusing to let cases die finally brought justice. But this wasn't just one lucky break. This was systematic, methodical police work applied to case after case after case. Over 150 families experienced what the Tollivers did. That moment when the phone rings and a detective says the words they'd been waiting decades to hear: "We've solved your case." So how exactly do you solve over 150 murders in 6 months? It starts with a fundamental change in approach. First, technology. Modern DNA analysis, improved ballistics matching, and digital evidence processing gave detectives tools their predecessors could only dream of. Evidence that seemed useless in 1979 could be the key to solving a case in 2024. Second, dedication. Instead of cold cases gathering dust, they became a priority. Detectives were given time, resources, and support to dig deep into these forgotten murders. Third, organization. Cases were reviewed systematically, evidence was re-examined, and new leads were pursued with fresh perspectives. And finally, persistence. Sometimes solving a decades-old murder just takes someone who refuses to give up. This success story comes at a crucial time for Chicago. 2024 marked a 5-year low for homicides in the city. Progress is being made on multiple fronts, but these aren't just statistics. Each solved case sends a message. Murder will not be tolerated, victims will not be forgotten, and justice may be delayed, but it will not be denied. The families affected by these solved cases describe a weight being lifted. Some had given up hope. Others had never stopped believing this day would come. The detectives involved describe it as the most rewarding work of their careers. Imagine calling a mother who's waited 20 years to tell her who killed her son. Imagine the tears, the relief, the gratitude. Chicago's success hasn't gone unnoticed. Police departments across the country are studying these methods, hoping to replicate these results in their own communities. The model works. Dedicated resources, modern technology, systematic review, and refusing to give up. Simple concepts that, when properly implemented, produce extraordinary results. And the work continues. Every day, Chicago detectives are applying these same methods to remaining cold cases. The goal is clear: solve every solvable murder. In a world where we often focus on what's broken, Chicago's 2024 Cold Case Initiative reminds us what's possible when systems work, when resources are allocated properly, when dedication meets innovation. For over 150 families, the nightmare is over. The questions are answered. Justice, however delayed, has finally arrived. Ronald Tolliver's case waited 45 years for justice, but in 2024, his family finally got answers, because every victim deserves justice. Every family deserves answers. And sometimes it just takes the right approach and the right people to make it happen.